there's this thought that has crossed my mind. I think I just want to go ahead and say it. We're going to double down and spit it out. I think the games of yesteryear are far better than anything that's been coming out or has come out today. And this game certainly typifies that. It's called Dante's Inferno. I don't want you to be mistaken. It's far closer to God of War than it is to Dante's Inferno itself. It's very loosely, I'm going to put some emphasis on loosely, based on the classic piece of literature of the same name. Now, if you're anything like me, you've read the book, and you're going to understand when I say it's fucking boring, because it is boring. Don't try to act like you understand it. It's not good, nor is it entertaining. It's just 400 pages of Dante choosing who's a Chudley and who's a Chad. Honestly, you know what? No, I'm not here to nitpick the book. I'm here about the game. Visceral Games, or whoever made it, took the basics. So our name is Dante. We get to go through the various circles and sins of hell, and we're guided by the poet Virgil. And that's about it. Everything else is pretty much just a carbon copy of God of War. And for once, I'm not making that a negative. I think that's okay. I think as an Xbox user, I'm okay with that because I get to feel like I'm Kratos. And when I say you get to feel like Kratos, I mean you get to feel untouchable. Your weapon of choice is a big-ass bone scythe taken from the hands of Death himself, which you do in the first 5 minutes. You want to talk about a way to reel in an audience? There you go. And once it starts going, oh boy, does it not stop. It's so fluid, I just don't want to stop spamming X. I know what you're saying. Oh, spamming? Yeah, there's spamming. But don't worry, the game's got you covered. They throw a variety of enemies your way to really test your skills. Some enemies are fast. They're just there to keep you on your toes and make sure you're not falling asleep behind the wheel doing the same move. Other enemies are just brutish. They seem like they take a million hits and won't ever go away. There's babies with knives. Yeah, I don't know what Circle of Hell this is. And then there's others that are just simply there to be farmed for XP. There are some other minor things this game takes from God of War, which we'll get to. But I just want to emphasize again the biggest. It's combat. See, combat made God of War. How outlandish it was. How gruesome it was. How a mere mortal could gain the powers of a god and decimate Mount Olympus. And the same with Dante. He is the underdog of his story. The odds are stacked very highly against him. But it's with the combat that we feel like we can do it. That the goal is in reach. We feel like a god. We feel untouchable walking through the supernatural world. We feel invincible going through every single circle of hell, facing 20 plus boss fights. And that's the point. They're both the underdog, and therefore they'll both be given a 6th set of moves to make sure they'll live to see another day. One of the minor things we take from God of War is the orbs. It's one of the most common items in the game, just like God of War, and some can give you health, some give you magic and stamina. There's also lots of nudity. Tons of nudity. There's so much nudity I can't show you half of the key points of the campaign because I have to fucking blur out a pixelated boobie. There's also plenty of bosses to fight. And when I say plenty, I mean 24. And some of them are hard, but they're not impossible. They are challenging. They're there to give you a challenge, again, to remind you that you're just a guy down here in hell, facing them who are supernatural and should most likely win, but they don't, of course. And it's not just about how many there are, but how epic they are. In the first 5 minutes, you're fighting Death himself. And there's plenty more, but I'm not going to spoil it. That's not fun. Okay, that's not fun to ruin who you're fighting and when. There is one thing you get to do in this game that I don't know if you can do in God of War. It's probably my favorite part. You get to be judge and executioner of whatever poor soul's in front of you. You might come across some poor weeping soul, and you get to decide if they should be punished or absolved. And it's so much fun. Maybe I'm just power tripping, but I really do enjoy doing it. Now, I understand I only told you one thing that was different from this game, and I think that's about it, and it's not even that big of a difference. But, again, this is Visceral, or whoever made the game, answer to the success of God of War. It's going to be a copy. You're going to feel the same in the way you move and fight. You're going to feel the same in the names you fight. Like, again, the Grim Reaper. And that's just how it is, because they wanted us, as Xbox users, to feel like Kratos without exactly slapping a name such as God of War on it. And I'm not complaining. I think it's actually fun. And there is a story, which I'll get into. The story is here to make us feel like an underdog. And again, that's done on purpose. So again, we can get as close to God of War as we can without essentially copying it word for word. I don't know how they turned Dante's Inferno into an underdog story, but I'm not complaining. So you come back from the Third Crusade, and you think life's dandy, even though you did some very questionably unchristian things. But you don't have to worry. The bishop or cardinal, whoever, said that your sins would be absolved. But he's wrong. He's very wrong. You get home, and you find that your loved one has been caught in the crossfire. You find your wife dead, murdered, and her soul is taken away to the deepest depths of hell. And so you have to jump into the pits of hell, quite literally jump into the pits, and go get her, and it's happy hunting from there. And the rest is for you to explore. Who you meet and what you do down there, well, that's for your journey. And in conclusion, because now apparently I'm writing a paper, I'm still going to double down and say this is a copy of God of War. And I know I only highlighted one thing, but it is the biggest thing that these games share. Their combat. See, combat made God of War. It's what you did and to who you did it. Gouging out Poseidon's eyeballs is crazy. Of course it made people want to play more and see where that story went. It's absolutely the same for Dante. And the weapons he chooses and the way he moves, it leaves you asking, what else are we going to fight down here? And you feel like a god, and that's the point. You feel like the God of War. That's why I call it a copy. As much as it is shameless to copy it damn near word for word, it's still a fun game. So get out, go try it. It's on Game Pass. Have fun. It's like a 6-10 hour trip. It's a blast.